When a man reaches his 60s, a lot of things begin to shift, sometimes quietly, almost unnoticed, and sometimes with a force that makes daily life feel different. For many men, one of the most surprising and frustrating changes is a drop in energy, drive, and masculinity. And while most people blame age itself, the truth is that age is only part of the story. There are hidden culprits, often sitting right on our kitchen counters or in the fruit bowl, that play a bigger role than you might realize. Today, I want to share with you a warning that could very well change the way you look at your diet, your habits, and your health as a man over 60. The topic is, men over 60 never eat these 3 fruits. They destroy testosterone fast. Elderly advice. I still remember a patient of mine named Leonard. Leonard was 67 when he came to see me. He was a strong man, a retired carpenter, and the kind of person who always prided himself on doing things himself, fixing the car, carrying heavy lumber, climbing ladders without asking for help. But when he sat down in my office that day, his voice was low and his shoulders slumped forward. He said, "Doc, I feel like my body's betraying me. I don't have the energy I used to. I don't feel like a man anymore. And what's worse, I don't know why." Leonard thought it was just age catching up with him, but as I began to ask about his habits and his diet, I noticed something very telling. He had started eating more fruit in recent years, thinking it was the healthiest change he could make. Yet the very fruits he thought were helping him were in fact dragging down his testosterone and making his symptoms worse. Before I share Leonard's story in more detail, let me introduce myself. My name is Dr. Nolan Easton. I've been a men's health specialist for more than 30 years, and over those years, I've walked with countless men through the challenges of aging, low testosterone, fatigue, loss of drive, and the frustrations of feeling like the man you once were is slowly slipping away. I want you to know this. Aging does not have to mean giving up on vitality, masculinity, or a fulfilling life. There are simple, powerful choices you can make every day that either push your testosterone higher or drag it lower. And food, especially certain fruits, plays a bigger role than most men realize. Now, I know what some of you may be thinking. Fruit is supposed to be healthy, right? Doctors and dietitians have said it for decades. Eat more fruit, load up on vitamins, get your natural sugars. But here's the key point. Not all fruits are created equal, and for men over 60, some are downright dangerous to your testosterone levels. They create a perfect storm in your body, spiking sugar, raising insulin, and tipping hormones out of balance. And when that happens, the first thing to suffer is testosterone. Let's circle back to Leonard because his story paints the picture so clearly. He told me that after his wife passed away, he began taking better care of himself. He stopped drinking soda, cut down on fried foods, and thought he was making the best possible choice by eating a fruit salad every morning. His breakfast was filled with sweet fruits, pineapple, grapes, sometimes a big banana and a glass of orange juice on the side. It sounds innocent, even healthy, but here's what was happening behind the scenes. Those fruits were flooding his system with sugar, overwhelming his insulin response, and leading to fat storage in his belly. And belly fat, especially around the waistline, is one of testosterone's biggest enemies. Fat tissue doesn't just sit there. It actively converts testosterone into estrogen, stealing away a man's masculinity little by little. This is why I'm so passionate about today's message. If you're over 60, avoiding these testosterone-destroying fruits can make the difference between dragging yourself through the day, feeling weak and unmotivated, and waking up with strength, confidence, and the kind of vitality that makes you feel alive again. And let me pause here for just a moment, because if what I've said so far makes sense to you, if you've ever felt that frustration Leonard described, feeling like you're not yourself anymore, I want to ask you to do something simple. Go ahead and tap the like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the little bell icon so you never miss a message like this. And if this message resonates with you, if you felt your energy or masculinity slipping, type a yes in the comments below. If not, type no. I read those comments carefully because it helps me understand what men like you are going through, and it helps me shape future videos to bring you the advice you need most. Now, let's get back to Leonard. Once I explained to him what was happening inside his body, he was stunned. "So, you're telling me the fruit I've been eating is actually making me worse?" he asked. And the truth was, yes, it was. But here's the good news. Once Leonard made the right changes, once he swapped out the testosterone-killing fruits for healthier alternatives, he began to notice a shift within weeks. His energy came back, his waistline started to shrink, and most importantly, that sense of manhood he thought he had lost started to return. That's the value I want to bring to you in this series, because Leonard's story isn't unique. I've seen it countless times. Men who think they're doing everything right, eating healthy foods, when in reality they're unknowingly sabotaging their own testosterone. And the frustrating part is, nobody tells them this. Not the big food companies, not most doctors, not the mainstream health advice. But after 30 years in men's health, I've seen the patterns and I know exactly which fruits to avoid if you want to keep your testosterone strong. Think about this. Testosterone is not just about libido. It's about energy, muscle strength, bone density, mood, and even the sharpness of your mind. When testosterone drops, everything suffers. And when it rises, naturally, without pills or dangerous shortcuts, life feels different. You feel alive again. That's why identifying and eliminating these harmful fruits is so crucial. Leonard told me something I'll never forget. He said, "Doc, I thought I was just old. I thought I was supposed to feel tired, weak, and uninterested in life. But now I realize I don't have to accept that." That's the message I want you to take to heart. You don't have to settle for less. You don't have to believe the lie that aging equals decline. With the right knowledge, with simple, practical changes, you can protect your testosterone and reclaim the vitality that belongs to you. When Leonard walked back into my office 6 weeks after making changes to his diet, I could see the difference before he even sat down. His eyes were brighter, his handshake was stronger, and there was a confidence in his posture that hadn't been there the first time we met. He said, "Doc, I can't believe this. I thought I was just old and worn out, but it feels like someone turned the lights back on inside me." What had changed? The truth is, it wasn't some magic pill or overnight miracle. It was simply removing the wrong foods, especially the wrong fruits, from his routine. That's why I want to dive a little deeper into why certain fruits, though often marketed as healthy, can be dangerous for testosterone, especially in men over 60. The first thing to understand is how sensitive testosterone is to blood sugar levels. When you eat fruits that are very high in sugar, your body reacts almost the same way it does with soda or candy. Your blood sugar spikes quickly, insulin surges to bring it down, and what's left behind is a roller coaster of highs and lows. For a young man, this roller coaster may not have as much impact right away. But for a man over 60, when your metabolism is naturally slower and your insulin sensitivity is lower, these swings wreak havoc on your hormones. Your body shifts into fat storage mode, and that extra fat starts producing more of an enzyme called aromatase. Aromatase takes your valuable testosterone and converts it into estrogen, robbing you of the very hormone that keeps you strong, lean, and motivated. I remember explaining this to Leonard in simple terms. I said, think of testosterone as the fuel that keeps your engine running. Every time you eat too much of these sugary fruits, you're not just letting the fuel leak out, you're actually pouring water into the gas tank. The engine sputters, slows, and eventually doesn't run like it used to. He laughed when I put it that way, but a week later he told me it really stuck in his mind. He began to look at every piece of fruit and ask himself, is this fueling me or is this draining me? Now, some of you watching may be shaking your heads thinking, but Doc, isn't fruit natural? Isn't it better than sweets or processed snacks? And yes, fruit is natural, but nature doesn't always mean safe, not when it comes to hormones in an aging male body. What matters is the type of fruit and how your body processes it. For example, a handful of berries, which are lower in sugar and packed with antioxidants, can actually support your health. But the tropical fruits that are heavily marketed as superfoods, things like pineapple, mango, or even large bananas, can deliver as much sugar as a candy bar. That's not a good bargain for your testosterone. This is where the frustration often comes in. Men like Leonard believe they're doing the right thing. They walk past the junk food aisle, grab what they think are healthy fruits, and proudly eat them every morning. But what they don't realize is that the very habit they think is helping is what's leaving them tired, sluggish, and drained of testosterone. And without testosterone, a man doesn't just lose strength, he loses drive, motivation, and even his zest for life. One of the most important things I want to emphasize is this. Testosterone is not a luxury for men. It's not just about intimacy or libido, though that's certainly important. It's about the very foundation of how you feel every single day. Your bones, your muscles, your heart, even your mood, all of it depends on this hormone being in balance. And when sugary fruits sneak into your diet day after day, they quietly chip away at that balance. You may not notice it overnight, but over months and years, the damage becomes clear. Leonard's story is powerful because it shows what happens when you make the right adjustments. After 6 weeks, he wasn't just feeling better physically, his entire outlook had changed. He told me he had started walking again, something he had stopped doing months earlier because he felt too tired. He was rebuilding small projects in his workshop, which gave him a sense of purpose. And with a smile, he admitted that his confidence in the bedroom had also returned. That's the ripple effect of protecting testosterone. One change leads to another, and before long, life begins to feel fuller and more satisfying again. And let me take a moment here to connect with you directly, because I know some of you watching right now might be wondering if this really applies to you. Maybe you're thinking, I don't eat that much fruit, or I've always loved my orange juice in the morning. Could it really be that bad? I want to encourage you, don't just take my word for it. Pay attention to how your body feels. Notice your energy after eating, your waist line over time, even your mood and motivation. If you've been struggling and can't quite put your finger on why, it may be that something as simple as your fruit choices is pulling you down. And if this is making sense to you so far, if you're starting to connect the dots, I'd love for you to go ahead and hit that like button. Subscribe if you haven't already, and ring the bell so you'll be notified when more videos like this come out. And let me hear from you in the comments. Type a yes if this resonates with you, if you've noticed a drop in energy or drive that might be connected to your diet. Or type a no if you haven't noticed these changes. I read through those comments carefully because they help me understand what you need most, and they help me keep tailoring this advice to serve men just like you. One of the most encouraging things about Leonard's journey is that his turnaround didn't require a long list of complicated changes. He didn't have to spend hundreds of dollars on supplements or commit to a grueling exercise plan. It was simply knowing which fruits to avoid and making smarter swaps. And that's what I want for you too. Aging doesn't have to mean decline. The truth is, your body still has incredible potential for strength, energy, and vitality, but you have to protect it from the things that quietly erode your testosterone, the hidden saboteurs that most men never even suspect. The next time you walk into your kitchen and see that fruit bowl, I want you to look at it differently. Don't just assume that because something grew from the earth, it's automatically good for you. Ask yourself, is this fruit supporting my testosterone or is it stealing it? Because for men over 60, that difference can mean everything. When Leonard first started cutting out those high-sugar fruits, he admitted something to me that made me smile. He said, "Doc, it felt strange. All my life, people told me fruit is good for you. And here I was, second-guessing the bananas and pineapple I'd been eating for years. But then I thought about how tired I'd been, how heavy my body felt, and I realized it was worth trying." That moment of openness, of being willing to challenge old habits, was the turning point for him. And for many men over 60, that's exactly the mindset that makes all the difference. It's not easy to change the way you think about food, especially when it's been ingrained for decades. We've all heard the same slogans. An apple a day keeps the doctor away, or fruit is nature's candy. But here's the truth. Your body at 60 doesn't process sugar the same way it did when you were 30. What might have been harmless or even beneficial back then can become a hidden enemy now. And that's why the men who pay attention, the men who are willing to shift their habits, often find themselves feeling years younger while their peers continue to struggle. I explained this to Leonard by painting a picture. I said, Imagine your body as a bank account. When you were younger, you had a big cushion in that account. You could spend a little recklessly and it didn't hurt you much. But as you get older, that cushion gets smaller, and every choice matters more. If you keep withdrawing, eating the wrong fruits, spiking your insulin, lowering your testosterone, you'll run out of energy reserves quickly. But if you protect that account, make smart deposits, and avoid unnecessary withdrawals, you can keep thriving. He nodded, and I could tell it clicked for him. Over the next few months, Leonard not only cut out those testosterone-draining fruits, but he also discovered how much better he felt when he replaced them with healthier alternatives. Instead of orange juice, he began drinking water with a slice of lemon. Instead of a morning banana, he switched to a small handful of blueberries or raspberries. And he told me he loved how those little changes gave him steady energy without the crashes he used to experience. That's the power of making intentional choices. Your body responds, sometimes faster than you would imagine. Now, I know some of you watching this may be skeptical. Maybe you're thinking, Doc, how much difference can a piece of fruit really make? And that's a fair question. But here's what I want you to remember. Small habits add up. The body doesn't work on isolated events. It works on patterns. If every day you're eating the same high-sugar fruits, day after day, month after month, those patterns take their toll. And testosterone, being as sensitive as it is, feels the effects quicker than almost anything else. I've had men tell me, I'm eating healthy. I don't understand why I still feel tired or why I've gained this belly. And when we break down their diets, we often find that it's not the big meals that are the problem, it's the small daily choices they thought were harmless. That glass of fruit juice at breakfast, that banana as a snack, that late-night fruit bowl. Over time, those choices quietly erode testosterone and leave men scratching their heads wondering why they no longer feel like themselves. Leonard's transformation was inspiring not just to me, but to his family. His daughter told me later that she hadn't seen her father so energetic in years. He was getting up early, working in the garden, even playing with his grandkids in ways he hadn't before. And here's the part I love most. He said to me one day, Doc, it's not just my body that feels better. My mind feels sharper and my confidence is back. I feel like a man again. That right there is what testosterone does. It touches every part of your life, from your physical strength to your mental clarity to the quiet sense of pride in knowing you're still capable. And let me pause here for just a moment to connect with you. If you're hearing Leonard's story and it's stirring something inside you, if you've been feeling that same kind of sluggishness or frustration, I want you to do something. Tap the like button, subscribe if you haven't yet, and ring the bell icon so you don't miss future advice. And tell me in the comments, does this sound familiar to you? If you've felt your energy or manhood slipping and you want to take it back, type yes. If not, type no. I read every comment because it helps me know exactly what men like you are experiencing, and it guides me in shaping these conversations to give you the tools you need. What I want you to take away right now is this. You have far more control over your testosterone than you think. It's not just luck or genetics. Every meal, every snack, every choice you make either supports or sabotages your hormones. And the beautiful thing is it's never too late to make a change. Leonard proved that. Countless other men I've worked with have proven that. And you can too. The idea that aging automatically equals decline is one of the biggest lies men have been told. Yes, the body changes, but with the right habits, you can hold on to strength, energy, and vitality well into your 70s and 80s. I've seen men who thought their best days were behind them discover, to their amazement, that their best days were actually still ahead. And it often starts with something as simple as adjusting what's on your plate.
When Leonard came in for his follow-up appointment 3 months after making the switch, he looked like a different man. His belly had slimmed down, his energy was steady throughout the day, and his handshake was as firm as the carpenter he used to be. But what struck me most wasn't just his physical transformation, it was the look in his eyes. He said, "Doc, I feel like myself again. I wake up ready to take on the day, I've got the drive to work in the shop, and even my grandkids notice the difference. They ask me to play with them, and I don't have to say no anymore. That's the gift of protecting testosterone. It gives you your life back. And I want you to think about that for yourself. What would it mean for you to wake up with more energy, to feel stronger in your body, clearer in your mind, and more confident as a man? For some, it might mean getting back to hobbies you once loved. For others, it could mean restoring intimacy and connection in your marriage. For many, it simply means not feeling like life is slipping through your fingers. That's why this message matters so much. Avoiding these fruit-killing fruits is about more than just food. It's about reclaiming the spark that makes life worth living. I've spent over 30 years in men's health, and one thing I've seen again and again is this: small changes lead to big transformations. The men who are willing to question what they've always believed, like Leonard did with fruit, are the ones who end up rewriting the story of their later years. Too many men accept the idea that once you pass 60, decline is inevitable. But that's simply not true. With the right knowledge and the right actions, you can feel better at 65 than you did at 55. I've watched it happen countless times. Now, I know some of you may still be wondering which fruits I'm talking about, the specific ones that can wreak havoc on your testosterone. And while I won't go down the road of turning this into a list, I'll tell you this: the culprits are the ones highest in sugar, the ones that spike your insulin, the ones you've probably been told are healthy in large amounts, but that your 60-year-old body processes differently than it once did. The key lesson here is not just memorizing a list, but learning to ask the right questions. How much sugar does this fruit contain? How does it make me feel afterward? Is this choice fueling my body or draining it? Leonard began to ask those questions every day, and that mindset shift changed everything. Instead of eating out of habit or tradition, he started eating with intention. And the reward was not only higher testosterone, but a renewed sense of control over his health and his future. That's what I want for you too. Not just to avoid a few harmful fruits, but to take back the steering wheel of your health. To know that your choices matter and that it's never too late to change. And let me pause here for just a moment, because I'd like to ask for your help in spreading this message. If what I've shared today has been helpful to you, please tap the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet, and hit the bell so you'll be notified every time a new video is released. And in the comments, let me hear from you. Does this resonate with you? Have you felt the kind of sluggishness Leonard described, and do you suspect your diet might be part of the cause? Type yes if this connects with you, or no if not. I read through every comment, and it helps me understand what men like you need most so I can continue to serve you better. One of the most powerful parts of Leonard's story was how it affected the people around him. His daughter told me that seeing her father's transformation gave her hope for her own future. His grandkids were overjoyed to have their grandfather back in full spirit. And even his friends, men his age who were struggling with the same issues, started asking him, "What's your secret?" That's the ripple effect of making better choices. When you reclaim your vitality, you inspire others to do the same. So let me leave you with this thought. If you've been feeling like Leonard did, tired, drained, less like yourself, it doesn't have to stay that way. The truth is, you have more control over your health than you've been led to believe. Yes, aging changes the body, but it doesn't have to strip away your masculinity, your energy, or your joy. By avoiding the foods that sabotage testosterone and choosing the ones that support it, you can create a powerful shift that touches every part of your life. Leonard once told me, "Doc, I thought my best days were behind me. Now I realize they were just waiting for me to make better choices." And that's what I want you to take with you today. Your best days don't have to be in the past. They can be ahead of you if you're willing to take small but intentional steps to protect your testosterone and your vitality. This isn't just about avoiding a few harmful fruits. It's about refusing to accept decline as your story. It's about believing that you are still capable of strength, confidence, and joy, and then making choices that prove it true. So the next time you look at your plate or your fruit bowl, remember Leonard's journey. Remember that you have the power to change the way you feel, the way you live, and even the way you see yourself. I want to thank you for spending this time with me.
I hope this message has encouraged you, given you clarity, and maybe even sparked some hope, because no matter what your age, your body is still listening, still responding, and still capable of transformation. And I'm here to walk with you on that journey, one choice at a time.